Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. And on today's episode, I am going to be joined by Cary Vandenavond, who is the CRO, Chief Revenue Officer at Dexterity. And Dexterity is focused on robotics within the warehouse environment and utilizing robotic arms to be able to do different types of tasks within the warehouse. And we're going to talk to them about that. We're going to talk about some of the challenges around that too as well, and how they've addressed some of those challenges. And we're also going to talk about their newer truck loading solution as well, which is very interesting. If you listen to the podcast regularly, I'm a big proponent and advocate for the truck loading and unloading automation solutions, because I think that's one of the toughest challenges in the warehouse to solve for. So very interested to hear about their solution today. But let's get into it with Cary. So Cary, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great, Kevin. Appreciate you having me on today.
Definitely happy to get you on. Happy to talk about this, and I think it's very interesting what you guys are doing. So definitely interested to dive deeper and learn more. So, tell us a little bit about Dexterity and kind of the background on the company and what it is that you focus on.
Yes, Dexterity was founded about 6 years ago now. PhDs across multiple disciplines from Stanford. So, founding engineering group of five. And we're focused primarily on warehouse and logistics automation. Kind of the slogan is let us do the heavy lifting, right? Versus a
Mm,
workforce to do the heavy lifting of moving product through the supply chain, primarily in warehouses and fulfillment centers. We use robotics as the primary mechanism by which we do the heavy lifting, but a lot of our focus is around how we make it intelligent. So using
mm,
machine learning and artificial intelligence technologies to allow us to increase and improve upon that capability of those tasks in a warehouse and continue to improve and get better over time. And so a lot of our focus, we're solving the problem more in trying to solve it in software versus proprietary, unique hardware. So we're
mm.
taking hardware that you and I can go buy in the marketplace today, whether it's the robot arm, whether it's the compute power, whether it's end effector, all the important aspects, very important aspects of the solution at the but clearly, we're focused on how do we bring that together, digitize the world, and then improve our performance of these types of tasks, of whether it's loading a truck, unloading a truck, or unloading a container, or building a mixed cube pallet of product, or depalletizing a mixed cube pallet of product, or placing product, parcel product on a sortation, on a induction type process. So it
Mm.
really focused on high scale use cases. I call it high scale, meaning it's not one person on the planet that actually does or perform this task in a warehouse. It's hundreds,
Mm.
if not thousands, across the globe that actually, unfortunately, are doing this laborious, labor intensive work
Right.
that over time it becomes very challenging from standpoint of an individual to do it. I don't know if you've ever filled or loaded a trailer full of product, but our
Yeah.
customer FedEx has indicated that it's like getting a workout while also building a Tetris model in your head on how to best place all the product in it. So
Yeah.
not only is it very physical, there is an aspect of making sure that it's stable and it's dense, so they're not shipping
Mm.
air. But clearly, we're focused on large opportunities where there's a large workforce that's focused on doing, unfortunately, doing in a position doing some of these very labor intensive tasks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's such a great thing there to highlight just the sheer volume of workers that are in the industry, just as a whole. I mean, it's such a large industry, and especially for those labor intensive type of roles, whether it's from a picking aspect, just putting product in box, walking, multiple miles a day in a warehouse, potentially doing that, or like you said, unloading, loading a truck. I mean, those things can be very repetitive, but also very labor intensive as well. So it's great that you're focused on making those areas better for the worker and for the human that's involved as well. But I'm curious. So you mentioned that you're also focused on the AI machine learning aspect, which is kind of, not the necessarily visible part of a robot when we think about robots, right? And I think there's been a lot of conversation around, the robot itself in many different solutions, and just in general is just like the hardware, right? And really it's only as powerful as some of the software on the back end, whether it's the AI or machine learning, is that's really driving that. So I mean, I guess tell us, how important is it for Dexterity to focus on making sure that, that robot can continuously learn and adapt, as you mentioned there.
Yeah, that's when you look at the makeup of the company, majority of
Mm,
which is focused on that aspect of the overall solution or product that we deliver to the market, where we believe that's we're trying to solve the problem in software versus
mm,
unique, bespoke, specific hardware capabilities. So we work very, very closely with the supply base on getting a feature set from them that might be a little bit different than they are used to, whether it's the robot OEMs that we partner with, or whether it's the compute companies we partner with, or the end effector partners. Um,
mm,
we are owning the reference design, if you will, of the hardware. We do have some IP around these reference designs, but the majority of our focus is really around, all right, now that we have the feature set from the hardware side of things, that better aligns to the use cases that we're going after in the warehouse, like we just described.
mm,
We're all about ensuring that we're performing at human or better parity to ensure that the performance is there and the business outcome is delivered as if it was delivered through an associate that they have doing the work today,
mm,
or through Dexterity. And so this allows us, though, to bring a lower total cost of ownership to our customers, because we're not bespoke hardware to that specific problem for that customer. And in the past, I think that's how many customers in the market looked at it. They would go and hire potentially a systems integrator to say, "Hey, I want to
yeah.
unload a truck," and so the system integrator would pull all the different key components of the technology. That you have to digitize the world, so you need a high def camera. You need to interpret
Mm,
that. You need to have capabilities with an end effector that works for picking and moving the types of products that they have. So someone would knit all this together and have a bespoke solution that's unique to that customer. And our software platform brings all that together in one software platform. So the
mm.
vision, the motion planning, machine learning, the data analytics. I mean, you can imagine the amount of data we're collecting that
Oh, yeah.
that today these customers, they don't have access today to
Mm,
that data, and give them a lot more business insights on their performance, on how well their operations overall are performing. So giving them things that they don't have today. So our software platform brings that all together, because the interplay between what you see and directing the robot to do something, the robot arm to do something, has to be immediate. And
mm,
immediate meaning they have to be able to react, accordingly, to ensure that we're not crushing boxes, we're moving in effective in a safe manner, and so on. So our software platform is orientated towards ensuring that all these key elements are available to support every use case. And so we have a philosophy where our software platform, think of it as one brain.
mm,
So whether that brain today, I'm going to load a truck, whether that brain is going to be, oh, tomorrow I'm going to unload a truck. So these different use cases of pallet buildings, mixed cube pallets, or depalletizing mixed cube pallets, or inducting, or loading trucks, or unloading containers, and so on. Think of it all on a common software platform, aka kind of brain, that
mm.
we just orchestrate in a different way to perform a different business outcome, right? And so we're focused on that software platform to ensure that we deliver a business outcome that the customer is looking for at human parity, that's safe, and does quality work, if you will. So the,
Mm,
the truck is not loaded and it's shipping 50% air, for example. It has to be dense.
right.
It's got to be built in a way that when it gets to its final destination, it's just not a pile of boxes at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's stable. Same with pallets and so on.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's such a great focus to be able to, like you said, have that switching between, today I'm loading, tomorrow I'm unloading or doing something else, palletizing, whatever the case may be. I mean, in that sense, I mean, by building the software like that, I mean, if a company and operation is investing in the hardware piece, right? They're getting like one robot, and now you have that software behind it that's flexible and doing multiple different use cases. Is the operation able to take that one robot and move it around and have it do different tasks depending on what the demand is?
That's exactly our premise and our notion, Kevin, in
Mhm.
regards to just like a person, that associate coming to work in the warehouse. Okay, all right,
Right.
the first 2 hours, please go in this area and depalletize these, 20 pallets, and they work there and do that to get it onto the sorter, for example. The next 2 hours, they get directed to go at the end of the sorter and at the end of the spur, and now palletize, right? So you have this workforce flexibility, and we want to model that. We want to have that same capability. So the ability to have mobility and within reason move our solution to where the work is, and do different types of work. So we're all about our hardware product is called Dex R for ability
Mhm.
to rove and move around, to ensure we can accommodate both solve the problem that we're going to go where the work is, just like
Mhm.
a person would and would be directed to go where the work is, and we perform different types of work. That's the key to our strategy, and we're solving the problem in software primarily, right? We'll have a standard
Mhm.
hardware configuration. We might have different types of arms on the robot Dex R itself, but
Mhm.
clearly the intelligence and the ability to do the work is all kind of form factored in the software platform.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's so important too, to be able to have that flexibility, because it's tough sometimes, I think, for a company to say like, okay, we're gonna make this investment in a robot, but the robot can only do one single thing, right? And that's, yeah, and that's really a challenge, right? Because when you look at that type of investment, and in that case, like, maybe half the time the robot might be sitting doing nothing, right? Because we don't have anything for that robot to do today, right? So being able to, like you said, apply the same thinking as you would to a human employee, and be able to, like you said, 2 hours here, 3 hours there, and then another 2 hours back where they started, and have that flexibility to do that is so needed in an operation, because it is a constantly moving thing. It is, the work fluctuates in between what's going on for that day and that week. I mean, it changes, so the robot needs to be able to do that as well. So from a form factor now on the robot, you guys are focused on robotic arms from what I can see, right? And I'm curious, as we look at the kind of robotic arm technology, I know that there's been, I guess, one of the big things around that has been kind of gripping, and what kind of products can it grab, and things like that. I mean, how do you see in like today's warehouse environment? I mean, how is that robotic arm technology continuing to evolve?
Yeah, great question, and kind of leads to some of this reference design concept that I mentioned, where to support working within a confined space like a trailer or a container, what we found is the current available robotic arms, which you are very familiar with,
Mhm.
were purpose built though for precision, right? For manufacturing, more manufacturing applications, if you will. So precision, control the
Right.
environment around the robot with the fixtures. It's, a lot of investment, and then make allow the robot to do something very very repetitive, but very very precisely. Well, that design concept doesn't is not applicable in warehouse where I need
Mhm.
flexibility. I need to work most of our solutions go into brownfield sites. And so what I mean by that, we have to have a form factor that fits within
Right.
basically a reasonable space where a person works today or multiple people work today. So, with that idea and notion, we work very closely with the robot OEM base and have now have a reference design around a concept of a different form factor of a robotic arm that provides that flexibility. I need flexibility and working in confined space and to perform these types of tasks. And up to this point in time, there was never a form factor of a robot arm that really worked really well. We took it so far through software capabilities and feature sets within the software platform, but we were now constrained by the physical capabilities of the robot arm because it wasn't
Mm.
designed to have dexterous capabilities in a warehouse. And so
Yeah.
that reference design for that we're working on will be what we're calling, like I said, Dex R, and that will have this very
Mm.
flexible notion around the robotic arm capability. So I can work in a trailer and reach really high, reach really low, do the things that you and I would do if we were
Right.
loading a trailer or unloading a trailer. And so that's the strategy is to work with the supply base and these types of feature capabilities that we need that are different than not available today, and have they're experts at building robots. We're not. We have
Mm.
robotic capabilities and skill sets to understand what we need, what really well to define the requirements for our suppliers, whether it's on the compute side, or robot arm side, or I mentioned the gripper side. These are key aspects of our product, but what we want to do is own the reference design of the product, focus on the software, and make that software platform improve every day in the operation,
Mm.
and leverage the supply base for their expertise because they've been
Mm.
building robots for 50, 60 years already. So it's not
Yeah.
they have that expertise.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's such a smart approach there to be able to leverage an expert, like you said, on that hardware side, and be able to bring this DexR that you guys are developing, and put that into place, and be able to utilize that use or that form factor. And I think it's such a great point too that you mentioned there, that like, hey, we look at the brownfield type of site, and not necessarily always designed for the next level of automation or robotics to be in place. I mean, sometimes they were designed before maybe we could even fathom that some of the things we're doing today were possible, or were in the pipeline, right? So I mean, it's very important too, I think, to consider that, which is such a great call out there to be able to do that. And now you mentioned kind of the truck loading, unloading here a couple times. So let's talk about that specific solution, and how that works. And I'm curious too how the dexterity solution for this situation, because I think we've seen probably over the last year and a half so now, where unloading, loading of trucks has become a big focus for the automation aspect of the industry. And I think one of the consistent challenges we see that's brought up is that, well, if I go to a Modex or ProMat and I see a demo and every box is the same size, uniform, standardized, and in reality, that's not necessarily the case always, right? So I'm curious, how does it work, and how does it kind of address some of that variability in box size, box weight, and all those different things?
Yeah. So I'll repeat myself. We're solving that complexity, that Tetris, with
Mm.
software, right?
Yeah.
We're focused on that capability being enabled through our software platform. So as I mentioned, our FedEx customer, our first customer on
Hmm.
loading, they describe it as exactly that. I'm getting a major workout.
Yeah.
um, but I also have to think about how I am building this. So I'm not shipping air, right? That's the last thing I want to be doing. And they're stable walls that will survive over the road from moving from one destination point to the next. And that Tetris capability of figuring out how to, because it's not all uniform. The real life is
Right.
not uniform. So
Yeah.
we're a big, when we go to ProMat or Modex, and you'll see us at Modex, you'll see that we're not about showing our products or our capabilities with one uniform box, because that's not
Mm.
reality. That's not
Right.
real world. I can't get excited about that personally. So we have a tendency to wait till to show the more real life demos than maybe our other people in the market that are focused on this problem area. That's
Mm.
we're solving it through the software, and then, like I said, working very closely with the supply base to harness the power and intelligence they have around the different components and expertise that they bring to the table. So
Mm.
we're working very closely with FedEx. That's a very was publicly announced last fall. We also publicly announced a similar relationship with Sagawa in Japan. So we
Mhm.
are excited about that. That happened at the end of the year. So we are building momentum behind this notion around building building out dense, very reliable, and stable trailers, and then doing the opposite. Right, we'll
Mm.
showcase both the building, a lot more complex problem than unloading. So loading a truck, unloading a container. Typically in the U.S., as you're aware, we're doing a lot of container unloading uh,
Right.
from product that gets moved, from outside the United States into the country, whether it's on a ship or on a container or over the rail.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's such a great focus. And I think it's interesting too to point out, which you said a couple of times here, is loading that trailer is one thing. I mean, it's one thing to fill it with boxes, right? But it's another thing to make sure that it's stable, as you mentioned, and that you're maximizing that cube to its greatest extent as much as possible. And I think it's great that the software you're using to be able to power these robots is able to enable that and think about that, because even it's a workout for sure for a human, but you mentioned the mental aspect of it too as well. Is sometimes like you're just like, oh, I got an extra body, like I'm gonna throw them in the trailer, right? I mean, how hard can it be to load up boxes into a trailer? But when it comes to thinking about that cube and the stability and all those different types of things, it takes a while to understand how do I load that properly to be able to do that. So ensuring that you're able to do that consistently with like a software based robot like you guys are doing, I think will makes such a huge difference when you're moving those loads, and not only from the perspective of cost savings because you're able to get as much on the trailer as possible. You're not shipping air, as you mentioned, but also from a damage perspective and just a protection perspective as well, which results in an overall better customer experience to whoever is receiving that package at the end of the day. So very interesting how you're focusing on this and the software aspect of it and how that comes into play. And I'm curious from an operator's perspective, because I think we're at a point where I think people are realizing that we have to get some type of automation, robotics in order to keep up, due to various factors. Whether it's consumer expectation on delivery, or it's just the sheer fact that it's harder to get people to want to work in the warehouse. And I think we've highlighted here a couple times the challenges and difficulties around kind of those labor intensive tasks. And it's just time where we need to look at this and say, like, how do we get our operation kind of up to speed here and prepare for the future by investing in some automation or robotics. So I'm curious from your perspective, as an operator starts to look at this and starts to consider what are the options, what is your advice for how to best prepare to start thinking about implementing these robotic arm solutions, and what really is kind of the foundation to be able to build on and have kind of a smoother automation journey?
Yeah, I love the word journey. I was going to use it, so you stole my thunder a little bit. But how
Sorry.
how we typically engage is to truly do a depth of discovery together with our customer to understand that journey. Because what I don't want to do is start with a project that we don't know how it fits into a vision of end state. And so
Mm.
I'm a big believer in, we don't have all the answers today on what that end state might look like, but have some form factor of what it could be based on what capabilities are available today in the market, and be thoughtful on a transformational journey of
Mm.
automation. And understanding how that first phase builds up to hopefully fund the second phase and third phase. And each phase is a building block to that end state. And that we work very closely with our customers on trying to put that together so we don't have a fits and starts. We don't start and say, oh, wow, we shouldn't have started there. Now that we learned that, let's go back and
Yeah.
start somewhere else. We want to be very thoughtful up front so we have great alignment with our customers on what the end state could look like, and at least have a high level of confidence that where we're going to start is going to deliver immediate business value to justify why to continue to the next phase. And that's our approach and philosophy that we have with our customers because it is a journey. And phase one is not the end state that they're looking for. They're looking for typically many times transformational approaches to ensure that it's not it's not a one-off. The last thing they want is another one-off piece of automation or technology sitting in a one warehouse across their entire network. This is about network optimization. My background is supply chain management. I spent almost 24 years at Blue Yonder. So,
Mm.
um, very the view of the world is not just one warehouse in a network.
Right.
The view is the end to end network of their operation to understand how we're going to optimally fit into that and optimally make a difference as far as drive incremental value every phase as we go down that journey with them.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's such a great way to look at it, and a great insight there too, because like you said, I mean, it's not like you don't want to make the wrong decision. I guess. I mean, you never do, right? But like you said, it's not as easy as like saying, okay, we'll invest in this automation solution, and then somewhere down the road, we're like, oh well, that wasn't the right solution, so let's start over, right? It's not that easy, and certainly when you're dealing with fulfillment, distribution operations, any type of disruption like that is not great, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we don't we don't really love disruption like that. I mean, I think it's a necessary evil at some point, but you don't want to disrupt multiple times. So you want to think about, like you said, that kind of that long game, and where do you start so that you put something in place that's not just like a one-off solution. Maybe it has some additional flexibility, and you're able to do more with it to prove that out, and like you said, build upon that as you continue down that journey there. So very interesting talking to you here, Carrie, and learning about dexterity, and also getting some insights overall in the robotics world, and the software kind of that's behind that to drive that and make it really impactful for an operation. So really appreciate you coming on the show and talking to us. If people are interested in learning more about dexterity, what's the best way to do that?
Uh, First and foremost, you can come on the website. We have a few different case studies and whatnot that they can review. Be more than happy to take any direct feedback and calls and I can make my number available. I don't know if you typically do this. I'll call timeout right
Sure.
now. I'm willing to give my phone number out if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you can come to our dexterity.ai website to learn more about dexterity. We have some nice case studies out there and examples of how we're driving real life value. And I think the other comment I make that I didn't make earlier is that the difference with dexterity is we're in production. We have over 25 million picks today. So we're not in a lab. We're in live in production, delivering a business outcome to our customers today across this solution set that I described. So, and I'm more happy to take direct calls. My phone number is 248 705 7977, and I can be reached at Cary at dexterity.ai. That's my email. So feel free to reach out to me. Would love to hear from you, give feedback. If you see we believe we're solving the problem in a different form than others today that allows us to be very scalable across the entire end-to-end warehouse and distribution network versus just being very specific to one use case, I would say, and using that same power of the brain. So something that I learned, think about it, something I learned doing truck
Mm,
loading, I can apply to any other task that needs that Tetris mindset, if you will. How do I build it? So think
mm,
about that same mindset on how you build a mixed cube pallet that gets shipped out the door, right? That
yeah.
same learning, I learned something in one area or one use case that now is available to all the other use cases that leverage that capability. In this example, being the Tetris, or I do something really creative in motion planning, right? And that I do to deliver the capabilities needed for truck unloading. Well, I now make that available to depalletizing immediately
Mm,
if that's of value to depalletize. So this one common software platform is critical because it's not just learning what I learn in one use case, it's shared across all use cases. And those
right.
capabilities are available for those other use cases to take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that makes so much sense to be able to do that, and just like we would do with our human mind is I learned something here, oh I could use that over here, right? So makes total sense, and really appreciate that you guys are developing that and have that out there in production to be able to have that flexibility for operations overall. So we will definitely put all that information at the newwarehouse.com as well, so people can easily find it and shoot Carrie some text messages or leave him a voicemail there or something. Give him a call and reach out if you want to learn more about dexterity. But Carrie, thank you so much for joining me on the show today, and thank you for your time and insights.
Yep. Great being here, Kevin. Thank you. Appreciate it.